Hello. So this is just a quick guide on how I sort my beetles or sift my beetles out of my mealworm substrate. I'm actually going to be changing it into 2 bins because of the amount of beetles that I have in this one bin right here. So I have a little extra stuff for the second bin. So I'll show you how I do it. It's pretty simple. I have my extra bins and I have a strainer. Let's see here. So I have a strainer right here, and it's really simple. I'm not going to, typically I would just move this whole thing over, but I kind of want to make sure that I have as equal on each tray as possible. So I'm going to knock them into the strainer out of their little hidey hole and strain them out. There's a few more in here. There's a couple in there. So I'll just move this over here and we'll kind of set up the little hidey hole situation for both of them. So I try to give them plenty of places to hide. I seem to really enjoy the more I have on there, more options they have. When I am changing them over and I put the substrate back in the original drawer, I leave all the scraps of food that were in it originally. I don't transfer that over with the beetles because they have a tendency to lay eggs on the scraps of food. So I obviously don't want them to be able to eat them, and I also want to make sure that they have, try to get all the eggs hatched that I can. So this is just what I've knocked off of those few little hidey spaces. It's right there. So I'm gonna go ahead and just put these guys in here. And then what I do, I just put radishes in, so I'm gonna move one clump of, or 1/2 radish there and 1/2 radish here. And then I just dump it in the strainer. And sift them out. And this strainer I got at the dollar store, it's perfect size actually, because some of the strainers at regular stores like Walmart or Fred Meyer's or Hagen's, that sort of thing, have much larger holes. And this is perfect because then the substrate goes straight through, but most of my beetles don't go through. So we'll knock these little guys off. But yeah, I try to keep these all the extra chunks of food, dried carrots and stuff, try to keep them in with the eggs, because I have found a lot of eggs inside like the center of a carrot or something. So then I just dump these guys in here. Escapee right here. But this is the process, and so I'll go ahead and finish this, and then I'll show you what it looks like when I'm done. So I'm on my last little bit, and this is why you keep the substrate in the original container and move the beetles versus like sifting it out and putting the substrate in a new one. These are all eggs stuck to the bottom from the beetles. They've only been in this one for about a week, but because there's so many beetles and I wanted to separate them, I decided to wait or to do it quick sooner. I typically do it every 2 weeks to make sure to give it time, and I have quite a few in that amount of 2 weeks. But this is why you always put the substrate back into the original drawer, because it saves those saves those eggs from the beetles eating those, gives them an opportunity to hatch. So I just move my beetles around from drawer to drawer. So this is the last bit of beetles. So I sifted probably 5 trays. I have beetles that are actually stuck in there, it looks like. So we'll just set that off to the side and get these chunks out of there. So, and I put like, I cut bananas. And I did like, it was fresh bananas, and I did like little, not even slivers, they were probably like a 1/4 of an inch thick. And it never got to the point of being able to mold or anything like that. They ate it so quickly, and it's dried out. And by the way, I use chicken feed pellets that are either ground up or the chicken crumbles is what I use for my substrate. So it makes it easier, and I have found that by using the chicken crumbles and not using oats or bran or like anything like that, I haven't had any grain mite problems whatsoever. And I live in a really wet state. I'm from Washington State, so it's always raining here. It's misty or whatever. We did have kind of a hot summer, but that's not a common occurrence. So I liked, once I moved to this, I have not had any grain mite problem whatsoever. Which I really like. So I was doing the pellets and grinding it, and it was a lot of work, and then somebody recommended the chicken crumble, and that seems to be really successful for me as well. It also has a lot of extra nutrients, and these particular mealworms are used to feed our chicken, a bunch of chickens. So I like to make sure that what they're eating is going to be something that I'm going to want in the chickens, in quality. I don't like giving them cheap stuff or anything like that, because I want it to be quality so that the eggs that they produce are really good, and anything that I put into the bugs, obviously they're going to go into the chickens, which in turn will go into the eggs. So that is all very important to me. So I don't do the oats and stuff like that, or but yeah, I found a lot of success with actually using chicken feed or chicken crumble. So there it is. I have my separation. We have my now beetle-less substrate that is going to be ready in a few months probably. And then I have my 2 new drawers here. That I'll be sifting in 2 weeks. But this is my little setup here. Makes it really easy. This is going to be going. This is my old setup, and I have a lot of eggs stuck to the bottom of these particular drawers, and so I'm waiting for them to hatch before I move them over. And then I'll just have this drawer right here, which is all my supplies, and my pupa drawer. So I put the pupas here, and I cut little holes in the tray I put little stilts on it so the beetles hatch out of there and they climb down and they can't get back up to the pupa, so the pupa are safe. And it gives them a couple of days to actually darken and have their shells harden so that they're not vulnerable to the other beetles, which the beetles will eat each other. And so with a softer shell, it just makes them prey, basically. So I give them enough time to harden before I put them in with the rest of the colony, and it keeps the pupa safe as well. So I like that little setup. But that's my supplies, and then all my mealworms and where my beetles and everything go. So that's how I do it. I hope you got something from this. Have a good day.